That's insurance. Might be the only laugh that I get. I have to take what I can get. My subject is very serious, so that's why I say that, and I don't tend to be somebody who does funny things, says funny things. Kind of went to the men part of the family, and I'm the serious one. So I like to say I'm not funny, ha-ha. I'm just funny. I think, therefore, I am un-American. What is this world that we have come to? It is a world where our presidents and our hopeful presidents are telling us we cannot sign this global warming treaty because it will cost millions of jobs. We cannot protect our oceans and our trees because it will cost millions of jobs. We can drill, baby, drill, because it'll create jobs, baby, jobs. We've been told that it is time that we make people more important than owls. America was founded at the beginning of the modern age. Europe had ended the medieval age, and it entered into the Renaissance. And it was during this period of time that we had people like Leonardo and Columbus who decided to sail the unexplored oceans of thought. And a new mindset was made. And that mindset was one of the modern age. It was one of dualism, the Cartesian mind, one where I, human, am separated from not only you, but all of nature. Because everything outside of me is for me to dominate and conquer. And so, as we have settled America, we have done that to this day. We continue to go and carve off the tops of mountains and dump the fill between the valleys, killing ecosystems. But we get oil, we get coal, we get electricity. We have altered the rivers of everything in America so that it will serve us. We have done it so that we can make nature fit our needs. This line of thinking is known as linear thinking. It is a simplistic way to get what you want. Straight line, A to B. At the end is the money, the profit, a single bottom line. And it has been very successful for us. We have become the chief chess beaters and the last superpower of the world. But at what cost? Because along the way, we have had many unintended consequences, what we call external costs. And external costs are all that noise that we pass on to our consumers and taxpayers to pay for, that is the environment and social injustice. They leave that for us, they take profit. And of course, it is within that that we find almost all the problems that America has today. the greatest unintended consequence of modern America is unsustainability. There must be a reason that everything we look at, from magazines to universities to corporations, are all looking and talking about be sustainable, be sustainable. And instead, what we get is a whole lot of greenwashing, a whole lot of this idea that is going to pass as we're being better by being green. But all it is an extension of consumerism. Being sustainable is not easy. And it will not be easy, but how much choice do we really have if we want to see our children, grandchildren, etc., flourish in the world? We have limited resources. Limited resources. We start to realize this at a certain point in time. Because in the middle of the 19th century, all of a sudden, this linear world started to show cracks. And people began to understand that linearity answers a certain amount of the questions we ask. But the world is not in the box of linear. It is not in this self-imposed exile that we have created for ourselves, saying everything's okay, and not saying or seeing that the emperor has no clothes. Instead, we have a nonlinear world that was first revealed in the middle of the 19th century with the laws of thermodynamics. The first law, conservation of matter and energy. There is only so much energy in the world. Nothing is created, nothing is destroyed. It is constant. However, it transforms. And that's the second law. And this is probably the most important law, not only in our world, but in the universe. Because this is a universal natural law. And we ignore it. We continue to think that we can have an economy that will continue to grow. Well, what is the second law? The second law is that the transfer of energy is unidirectional and irreversible. That the transfer from one state to another results in little available energy left after work. Entropy. Entropy is the limiting principle of the universe, and it makes unlimited energy possible. That's why we don't have perpetual motion machines, because the energy that we use is not used completely efficiently. And instead, much of it is dissipated as heat and what we know as pollution. An example of it would be when we turn on our car and we have fossil fuels, a very complex molecule structure, fed into our car in order to create this energy. We're only 30% efficient. The other 70% is the dissipated entropy. The energy that when you put your hand on the cell block, well, don't put it right there because it's too hot. It is that heat that is coming off and the breakdown of those molecules into what we call pollution, CO2, amongst other things. So, what can we do? To me, if we're going to create new jobs, then instead of saying, oh, we can't create new jobs because it's going to, we're going to harm the environment instead, instead, we start thinking about living in the world we actually live in, the nonlinear world. A world where I and nature are one. A world where we work with nature rather than conquering nature. There are many ways that people have already begun to work with this, but we're not centering on it. We are not supporting it yet. Amongst the ways are biomimicry, where we imitate and design our processes so that we find solutions. Understanding how photosynthesis works. We don't know that yet. It is, instead of living our cradle to grave economy of manufacturing, start here, go straight line, do not pass go, do not collect any of that noise, get out here and dump it. 90% of what we make ends up in a landfill within 6 months. Instead of that straight line, you have the nonlinear. It is a much more complex system. It will not be easy. But it will integrate humans with nature and provide those millions of jobs that we are so fearful of losing if we destroy our environment. It will allow us to flourish, because when we go cradle to cradle, we go from one company in eco-industrial park to another, and the waste of one, which is non-toxic and is biodegradable, goes to the next, all the way around, that they use all this so that there is not waste, so there is not the toxins that we put into our air today. The jobs of the future are some of the things that we have seen, heard about today in innovation, in the Creative Commons. The front page of today's New York Times talks about a website that has 50 million hits in 4 days. It reached a lot. And people are now concerned about something they didn't even know about. So we have enormous amounts of energy that we can put into working with nature. And by the way, this is not the answer of, oh, well, we'll just make more technology and then everything will be just fine, which is what we've been doing for a long time, saying that will save us. Because the more technology we use, the more energy we dissipate, and the less there is for all of us and our children. And so I believe that what we need to do is educate our citizens, our students, to understand where we really are in this both frightening as well as absolutely exciting time as we leave modernity, much as we left the medieval age, and enter a new age, the ecological age. The age where we have opportunity like we have not had in 500 years. An age where we will have Michelangelos and Leonardos coming from our fingertips because we have these opportunities. And then our students are going to say, I think, therefore, I am American.